it's like, how do you build that relationship with officials? You know, so, and it's not even that call. Like, it's just, you know, who he is on that floor. It's pretty frustrating. And I mean, and I'm probably gonna get hit, but honestly, I don't really say anything. I'm probably a pretty quiet guy to myself, but it's one of those things where you can't voice your opinion. You can't have a conversation with someone that's officiating the game, and you know, you're getting attacked. It's pretty sad.
You know, Chris had similar comments about Foster last year. Do you feel
I mean, that's another thing. Last year in the postseason, in the Western Conference Finals, I think he officiated a couple of our games, and it's lingering, and it's something that has to be looked at for sure.
You feel like it's a personal issue?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it's personal. For sure. Like, I don't think he should be able to even, you know, officiate our games anymore, honestly.
James Harden referring to Scott Foster, and according to Shams Charania, James Harden has to pay for those comments. He said, look, I expect to get hit in the wallet, $25,000 for criticizing one Scott Foster. The reigning MVP also out for tonight's game against the Golden State Warriors, set to tip off at 8:30. And so it's going to be a tough one for the Rockets to face the Warriors without the reigning MVP, James Harden. Let's welcome in Kelly Iko who covers the Rockets for The Athletic. James Harden, he was game time decision, out for this one, but really it didn't seem like there was a specific moment in which he got hurt against the Lakers. So when did he get hurt? What happened with his neck injury?
Coach D'Antoni said that he got hurt. He got hit in practice, and the next day his neck was kind of sore, and he also experienced some flu-like symptoms. So they thought that the best thing tonight was just hold him out, you know, get some rest, and recuperate for next week's games.
Well, last year, Chris Paul was able to play at an MVP level when James Harden was hurt or was out. Have those expectations changed a bit for Chris Paul? I know he suffered through his own injuries so far this season and hasn't necessarily seemed like he's been 100% at any point.
I think Chris would be the last guy that you would want to tell that he's, you know, his game has kind of declined. And after coming back from the injuries, his game has started to pick up a bit. He's looking more like the player they saw last season and kind of the all-star guard that they need to stagger with James Harden and run the offense. And you're seeing as the games are heading towards the playoffs, he's looking more and more fresh, getting some spring under his legs and, you know, shooting the ball much better than before.
Speaking of looking fresh, is that velvet you have on? Is that velvet?
It's not players only, but, you know, I have to do a little something.
I like that. And one last thing, my earpiece, you sound like Biggie Smalls a little bit, too. Has anyone ever told you that? Huh? Come on now.
Hey, yeah.
I like that. Okay, all right. Now back to the good stuff. Now, with all this with James Harden, is this something that he could use, the Rockets could use? Because let's face it, until they really get their mojo going on both ends of the floor, we're not going to take them serious of getting back to the Western Conference Finals.
I think the problem with that is they would prefer to play the Warriors 82 times a season because, as you can see, this is the game that they get up the most for, they have the most focus for. They feel like they're the biggest rivals. And being a veteran team, you know, you kind of don't want to go through the drags of the regular season. You want to play the Warriors. You want to skip to the playoffs, but you have to play during the season. And you're seeing that for them, this kind of the game where they have to, you know, turn everything up a little bit more. But they have a will and a desire, even with the injuries, even with the slow start, that when they get things together and they can gel, that they don't care the seating and the standings, they're just going to be able to play.
Caron Butler here. What are you looking forward to seeing from the Rockets in particular tonight without James Harden out there? Because I know point of emphasis, let's face it, to keep the streak going, to keep it alive. And now you see the team as a whole out there being able to be the best possible version of themselves. What are you looking forward to seeing out of them?
The defense. Last season they were in the top 10 in defense and defensive rebounding, and this season they're, I think, 25th in defensive rating, and they're last place giving points in the paint and 28th in rebounding. And for a team that has championship aspirations, you're not going to get there with those kind of rankings. So I'm looking to see, you know, a tough crowd on the road. You came after an emotional loss. How do you bounce back? You're playing against the best team in basketball for the last couple of years. Now you're seeing a new dimension with DeMarcus Cousins. How do you handle that? Are you going to, you know, step to the challenge even without James Harden, or are you going to fold and run? So I'm looking for that.
Kelly Iko from The Athletic. I think we have a new nickname for you, and I think it's Biggie Velvet.
Ooh, Kelly, clean,
accepting that.
Baby.
Because I think
Velvet
it's
Jones. There it is.
Put the stamp on it. Put the stamp on it.
I like your style, bro.
I love it. And you
Thank
put
you.
in there
Keep
players
with it.
only, baby. There you go.
Thank you for your
Got to.
time, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so much happening with the Rockets right now, but James Harden being out for tonight's game against the Warriors, I think it's a good litmus test to see where Chris Paul is. We know what he's been for his career, but we haven't really seen what his capabilities to the fullest extent this season because James Harden has been on this run, because Chris Paul has been hurt.
Yeah, the game is still the same. They're doing a lot of pick and rolls and having Capella back. Tough Juice, you know he's going to roll to the basket. It's guys like right there, it's Eric Gordon. You know, is he more animated tonight? What I mean by that, Chris, is like, is he looking for more shots? Are they running more offense for him? Does he get more opportunity to run the pick and roll knowing that there's no James Harden tonight? So that's why I agree with Kelly. Defensively, I want to see, do they still lock down? And you still have Chris Paul on the floor, so the ball still will be in someone's hands that knows how to facilitate.
Caron, do you like the way that they handled the Scott Foster situation? It seems like, look, James Harden is not exactly the most vocal guy as far as superstars are concerned. So to hear him voice his opinion on that, take the fine for his team and his teammates, and Chris Paul also got a tech that he felt he didn't deserve in that game. Do you feel like that was the right way that they handled that?
Yeah, listen, when a quiet individual talks, everyone should listen. And I felt like he did a service to his team and to himself by, stepping out and saying and talking about some things that he wasn't comfortable with. He addressed it. He got hit. And like he said, I know I'm going to get hit. He got hit. It was coming. It was warranted. But at the same time, it may have been a lot of truth to what he was saying. And I think it's something that has to be addressed and just, reviewed and looked at. But most of all, I love collectively how the two leaders of that ball team, one being the president of the NBA Players Association and Chris Paul, they both got text in that moment. So you best believe it's going to be some momentum behind what was said and what was addressed.
Can I address something?
Oh, he gets his special camera.
My camera
3D special camera time.
Hey, James Harden, I think Anthony Davis. Am I missing anybody? Who else got fined pretty heavy recently? All you guys have been getting fined heavily. Send half the money to me, and I'll talk for you, and I can cut you a discount. There you go. I'm done.
Oh.
I'm done. That was it.
Put my camera up.
You got a better discount? This is camera one.
Basically, what he just said is he got drip for sale.
There you go. So just send the money to me, and we all good. And it's going to be a discount. So instead of $25,000, it's go $12,500. Cut it in half, baby.
That's a nice soft discount.
Nice, you know
I like your style,
you see
bro.
what I'm saying?
You don't want it all. You just want a little taste.
Man,
I think we need to move on from this before we get a call from upstairs. Like, hey, Chris.
Hey, look, upstairs, look, man. I take you to lunch
hold that
and
one
dinner,
down.
too.
The Greek Freak is coming out on Saturday night. Giannis and the Bucks facing the Timberwolves tonight. He has all of those Papa John's winning ingredients.
MVP.
There you go. Look at that. Win shares around the league. There's one name at the top of that list. There's so many nuances to his game, Caron. You were his teammate his first year in the league, and he's grown so much since then.
Well, watching him perform at the level that he's performing at right now, I'll be totally off base if I was to say I seen it coming. But one thing I did see was his work ethic and, the sweat equity that he put in the game, being one of the first individuals in the gym, one of the last ones to leave. And I know that's an old cliche, you always hear that, but he lived by that. That was Bible for him. And to see his results now, just coming into full circle, he is everything as advertised. He's a special individual. Inside out, on the court, off the court, amazing family guy, and I just love the way his career is trending in the right direction. And look, he's hands down for me, from beginning to end, the MVP of this league.
I'm good friends with John Hammond, guys, and I remember John talking about him.
Yes.
But to your point, Tough Juice, until you see somebody up close, you don't know how hard they work. He's not from New York, so he's not in the playground in Rockford. He's not from Philadelphia, he didn't play in the Bakery League. He's not from LA, you didn't see him run up and down Venice Beach on the outside courts. You know, he's not from D.C. He didn't play in the urban coalition, so it's not. You cannot say one of those, you know, playground type kids. You can say, I know his game. So for a guy to go across the water, as we say, across the pond, and put his eyes on someone very, very thin of build and say, I think he has a skill set. I think he's going to work hard. And then when you watch that piece and you say he used to sleep on a mat, he had nowhere to go, now you see when he says, I have hunger pains of not just to eat, but to find out how can I get better as a player. Now, 5 years later, we can say he's up there with KD and LeBron as one of the best players in our league in this short 5 years. Pretty amazing to me.
Typically with MVP candidates, we talk about how they make their teammates better by what they do offensively. For Giannis, now the Bucks have the best defense in the NBA by defensive rating. What do they do well? How do they identify their opponents and perform so well on defense?
Well, I'm going to say it again. It still stems from the offense because Bud Ball has put so much confidence in them on how they share, shoot more threes, and Giannis not buying into saying he needs to shoot more threes, playing inside out. So defensively, easier transition plays. Now in the half-court set, to your question, Chris, now they can use their length and play good, solid defense. If you make a mistake, you got guys behind you willing to block shots and devote their body to help them. Look at that. You got Lopez and Giannis going to block shots. Look, high hands. All these things, tough as you notice. They preach that in practice. High hands, quick feet, long arms, and now you're seeing that and it's matching their offense.
One of the similarities that I see with a familiar foe that used to be in the Eastern Conference, and he was the roadblock for many, many years, LeBron James.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing pretty much happening in Milwaukee with a guy like Giannis because he's able to outplay 2 to 3 of your starters and do that on a consistent basis. So when you're able to do that, and then you have the tangibles of guys, you know, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, and, you know, you're still stocking up Lopez, all those guys are able to perform at a high level. I mean, look, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come. As long as he's happy and they continue to put the right pieces around him going forward, they're going to be in contention.
You know, fellas, Game Time Live is a show that's a force to be reckoned with. But when Game Time Live is over,
especially
Pacers get the win 119-112. LeBron James is free right now following the loss by the Lakers to the Pelicans.
You guys on Thursday dug a big hole and were able to climb out of it. What was the difference tonight?
You just said it.
What were the remaining parts of your game that you're still working to get back after the injury?
Nothing much. Conditioning still is coming along. But other than that, I'm able to get them down the floor with no problems.
Consistency was a word that was mentioned by some of your teammates tonight in terms of the search for it. Obviously, there's been a ton of games already, and if it's still searching for it, is there enough time to find it?
I don't know. We just got to play better our next game in Memphis, but we're almost 60 games in, so I don't know.
Urgency was lacking tonight from the team?
From the start, yeah. It happened in the Houston game too. Just the start of the game and then the start of the third. That urgency, has to be there, and we dug ourselves a hole, once again in the third quarter tonight.
Wow, so much at stake and so little time left. How do you get that sense of urgency? Keep it.
But how many know what's at stake if you've never been there? I'm asking you too. I'm like, how do you know what's at stake if you've never been there before?
Yeah, but then how you know I've never been there before?
No, not you.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm not talking about you. I'm just like, kind of playing devil's advocate,
Right. The idea of trying to get to the playoffs. Now there's 23 games left.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of a fine line, when you talk about that because, when you've never been there or know what it takes to actually, shoot for something like that, and sometimes you're afraid to get uncomfortable. So you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I'm not saying that's what we are as a whole. Kind of looks that way at times. That sometimes we feel like we're afraid to be uncomfortable, kind of get out of our comfort zone. Kind of have that sense of urgency. From the jump. not be afraid to actually go out and fail to succeed. So, I mean, we have what 23 games left. Let's see what happens.
Do losses now feel different than losses maybe earlier in the season?
For me?
Yeah.
No. See, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. See, it's like, I don't know. It's just been so like, last few years, everybody's so accustomed to the losses that I'm just not accustomed to. I'm not accustomed to it. I would never get comfortable with losing. So, losing game 1 to Houston, it feels the same way as losing game 59 in New Orleans for me. That's just how I'm built. That's who I am. Ask Dave. Dave will tell you who I am. He's been with me.